Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
Our pal Josh Robbins from The Athletic covering NBA Summer League. Josh, how are you, my friend?
I was there all right. I saw every one of those missed shots, and right here, they occurred just a few feet from me, really.
It is the beauty of Summer League, right? They
it.
give you good seats. At least that's nice for media out there.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. This is my favorite event on the calendar, by far. It's a great event for a reporter, and it's a great event for an NBA fan. It really is. So I'm happy to be here, taking care not to get sunburnt too badly.
Yeah.
I'm all right. Don't worry about me.
It's a fun event. I haven't been in a long time, but it's just awesome because the whole league is there, and it's very cool to see everybody in one place. And as you said, it's amazing for a reporter. But the day job for you is, I'm sure you're working on some other things that we'll be reading in The Athletic over the next couple of months and reporting some things out. But in the immediacy, Josh, that 0 of 15 is startling on the box score. But I will just ask you open-ended before I give any opinion or any other context on the matter. As you're watching it and as you are digesting Alex Sarr, the number 2 pick for the Wizards, take and miss 15 shots, what is going through your mind and what does it mean, if anything?
Well, it was a bad offensive performance. There's no other way to describe it. It wasn't quite as terrible as the box score makes it look, but that's not saying much. I suspect that he took a lot of shots that he won't be taking when the regular season starts. But beyond that, is it cause for concern? No and yes. It confirms exactly what the scouting reports offensively said about him heading into the draft, that he's got a lot of work to do. He's extraordinarily raw offensively in terms of his shooting, and that is a issue. But they knew that going in. They know that he's a defensive first player, and they also know that he's only 19, and for the next 3 years or so at least, the Wizards are going to be in full-blown development mode. So they have the opportunity to be patient, but they're going to have to develop him, and if they can't develop him, then it's a problem.
Right.
It's a problem.
Right. The thing that I noticed in watching it, Josh, and I will admit, I was doing a million things yesterday, including as at the Audi Field for the U.S. Women's National Team game last night, so I didn't get this chance to watch this full game live. But in watching the highlight back of it, and of course the problem with the highlight is that they don't show you things that don't happen, right? So I don't know in terms of game flow, but I did get to watch all 15 of the shots. They looked like good shots. It looked like the decision-making, processing-wise, was good. He needs to ultimately make the shots. Is that the way you saw it? And was there anything that those that may have done what I did and watched just a highlight or a cut-up of the misses missed in terms of the context of the game, about his game, that is cause for concern beyond just missing what were properly taken good shots?
Well, I just watched all 15 shots myself to prepare for this grilling. You know? So what I was struck by that I didn't quite feel when I was watching it live was just how close so many of the defenders were to him. Now, because he's 7 feet tall, he was able to get his shot off on three-pointers, but he's got to take more care in taking shots where the defender is farther away. And in terms of the shots within the rim, well, he got blocked twice, one of them by Donovan, maybe got blocked 3 times, twice by Donovan Clingan, and on most of those shots, he looked out of control. The thing about Alex Sarr is this. He's 7 feet tall. He is a 7-foot-tall person. He's a perimeter player who doesn't hit shots right now in a 7-footer's body. He has no low post game, none, which is okay if they can succeed in teaching him that. It's okay if they can get his shot right, and it doesn't look broken. I think if there's anything to be optimistic about him offensively, if you're a Wizards fan, that the shot isn't broken. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I do think that, like, there's specific things you can look at with some of the footwork and stuff that that Will Dawkins and company knew when they drafted him. The scouting not the scouting staff, the player development staff will be working on him, and that's how you fix. Again, it's not broken, but that's how you improve on the jumper, which is something that I think is going to be interesting to watch happen. We saw some of the improvements that some of the Wizards players made last year, but I think the one thing that you look for me at least, Josh, in summer leagues, is Josh Robbins, of course, Wizards beat reporter for The Athletic, is with us from Las Vegas, is a mentality, is a tenacity, is a like what's going on upstairs in a guy's head. What did you make of the rest of Alex Sarr's game as he's missing shots last night? Because he does have some blocks. He does have some other things that he does well in that game. But again, for those of us that didn't get a chance to watch the full thing, and for someone who's been covering it as long as you have and has that level of expertise, what do you make of kind of the whole of his game last night once you get past the galling 0 for 15 headline?
Well, this is the bright spot. Everything he does on defense. Is he all defensive level yet? No way. But the raw materials are there for the most part. He moves very well for a 7-footer. As I said, he's almost like a perimeter player in the way he moves. And he did affect shots. He did block shots. He did affect shots. Rebounding, he showed pretty good hands, better hands than advertised. So the effort was there. And all right, so it's terrible that he missed all 15 shots. Not good. But I like that he took 15 shots.
Right.
Remember 2 or 3 years ago when Johnny Davis was in his first whole summer league, it was almost to the point where he didn't take many shots. And I'd rather have somebody who is going to continue to let it fly and have some confidence than someone who's timid. And Alex Sarr is not timid. And his body language last night is fine. If I had missed 15 shots, my body language would have been horrendous. And one other thing that I forgot to mention, so many of the shots were short, particularly from distance. Yeah, he's in decent shape now, but he's got to get into a lot better shape. And he's got to add a lot more strength, which is exactly, in terms of adding muscle, that's exactly what the scouting reports said about him heading into the draft. And the scouting reports were right.
Yeah.
He's got to get better at that.
Speaking of your game, Josh, I did ask when I saw that the Wizards had brought their own court out there. We had Chase on from Monumental, and I asked Chase, well, when the Wizards are not using it, are they going to allow any kind of media pickup games on the court that they brought? And he said he didn't know yet, so I'm going to follow up with you. Have there been any media games on the Wizards practice court? No? Why not?
Actually, by the way, I got a big piece about this coming tomorrow morning. It'll be interesting.
Okay.
For everybody listening. But you got to have a card key to get into this ballroom.
Get Winger on the phone and get yourself a key card, Josh. What are we doing here? Like, Michael can't and Will, they can't have players on the court 24/7. It's just sitting there. They brought it all the way out to Las Vegas. Might as well get some use,
If I were to be on there just goofing around, just through the sheer vibes I would give, the next time Alex Sarr goes out there, he'd go shoot 0 for 50. So I don't think anyone wants that.
All right. We'll look forward to the piece on the court. I'm actually very much looking forward to that because it's a very cool thing that they did, and I'm sure I don't even know the half of it, and now you do, and you're going to tell us. So look forward to that tomorrow morning in The Athletic. Josh Robbins with us from Las Vegas. All right, on the non-Alex Sarr category, Josh, Bub Carrington's kind of been the darling of Summer League for the Wizards so far. He's been productive each and every time out. What have you seen from the other lottery pick from the Wizards?
Well, I like him. I like how competitive he is. I like that he brings toughness. And if I were a Wizards fan, I would like that he's hitting shots. As basic as it sounds. And remember, he's not even 19 yet. Several days he turns 19. So here's someone who possibly, maybe, the Wizards have found a player whom the rest of the lottery undervalued. He has no problem handling the ball. He does a lot of things that a point guard, upper level point guard needs to do. He can find the open man. He can send a pinpoint pocket pass. And I think that the playmaking aspect of his game is going to improve when he's around a full team of legit NBA players. So there's someone to build on here. And since we're talking about shooting, well, he's hit 42% of his threes, which doesn't mean he's going to come even close to league average come the regular season. But I think it does indicate that the possibility to be an upper-level shooter is there. A lot to like.
Yeah, when you think of 2024 specifically for this team, we know so much of what we're doing is just forecasting long term, but in the immediacy, like because he's a bigger guard and he has real size, can he and Poole play together? Is that something that is feasible and maybe changes the calculus as the Wizards still are one of the teams that's floating around and trying to figure out what they want to do with Tyus Jones?
Well, I don't think they're not going to resign. It's highly unlikely, I would say. You can you can cite this to the Athletic. Highly unlikely they re-sign Tyus Jones. Now, I will say this: I didn't expect Tyus Jones to be unattached on July 17th. Maybe things get so desperate for him that things change, but I think it's highly unlikely that he comes back to Washington. Can Poole and Carrington play together? I think we're going to see that at times for sure. I don't think Bub Carrington is going to be in the starting five on opening night, but he's going to play heavily. And for a team that needs to finish near the bottom in order for its rebuild to go right, there's no harm in experimenting.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and Carrington has looked pretty good defensively, and he's got some size.
Right.
So I've been impressed. I've been overall impressed with him, and even more just kind of with the spirit and charisma and competitiveness that he plays with.
I feel like Will Dawkins is doing cartwheels in his hotel room if he heard that, because that's all the stuff that they look for. Is that especially at this point where they are, like they want the guys that compete, they want the guys who bring good energy to the building, like. That is such a positive, it seems like, for what they're building, and it seems like Bub has that in absolute spades.
Well, I have a little anecdote for you that you might like.
Let's
After
go.
the second game, the team that night the team stunk. I mean, it was not good. It was badly outplayed against Houston, and Carrington didn't play well himself. Well, I got him off to the side after the game and asked him some kind of bird's eye view questions about how his game is translating to the court. And he was so unwilling to talk about himself that I thought it was actually a good sign. He was so upset about the way the team and how he played, but more really about how the team played that night that he was I wouldn't say he was disconsolate, but he had an edge to him, and I think that's a good thing. Right?
Yeah.
Now you don't want to let a loss linger, but you don't want to get to a point where you accept losses, even in a relatively meaningless exhibition. So can he maintain that over the course of 82 games? Will the losses sap his spirit? Well, we're going to see, but I think this was a welcome sign, actually, from him. And it's probably one of the reasons why the Wizards front office likes him.
Josh Robbins from The Athletic with us here on the Hoffman Show. All right, last big topic to chop up here, Josh, that I want to get to with you is kind of something that popped into my head as we were talking about Tyus, which is we're now a year plus, but like a year and a full offseason almost into this Dawkins winger era. And we've seen how they've remade the roster, some of the moves that they've made, some of the moves that they didn't make. Kuzma at the deadline, Kuzma so far this summer, Tyus at the deadline, and we're going to see what the return is on some of these guys that they kept around. And for instance, Tyus, they could have gotten, I think, a couple of seconds has been reported. You would know better than me at the deadline. What do we think of how they've managed the assets through 1 year of the rebuild? Because we know that while the cupboard wasn't exactly stocked full of goodies when they took over, that between what they did with Beal, what they've done with some of the other players that they moved on from, and what they will continue to do, the asset management is how you really manage a rebuild in the NBA, along with quality drafting and getting really lucky in the lottery. How have they done on the asset management part through your eyes through a year?
I think they've done well. They did not sell low. They did not trade Kuzma when really the incoming picks were not very good, not very impressive. They sold high on Daniel Gafford. They sold high on Denny Avdia, to the point with Avdia where the rest of the league was surprised they were able to wrangle 2 first-round picks plus a pair of second-round picks. We'll see what happens. Malcolm Brogdon's going to start the season with the Wizards. It'll be interesting to see who they bring back or what they bring back in any trade for him by the deadline. The cupboard wasn't just half full when they took over. It was almost empty. And it's one of the reasons why this rebuild is going to take longer than the ones in Orlando, OKC, because those teams maximized their assets in OKC to a ridiculous degree. And Washington had almost nothing partly because Bradley Beal had a no-trade clause and insisted on only going to one team. So they came in with all the odds stacked against them, and they've steadily rebuilt it. Now, they're still not where they need to be, but they've done pretty well. And the next big test is, I think, Kuzma at the trade deadline. Are they able to bring back a bigger haul for him, the kind of haul that they were unable to generate last February?
Do you think I feel like there's still like one too many bigs, 4s, 5s on this roster. Do you think that there's another move to come at some point this summer as we move towards training camp?
Well, yes, there certainly are too many bigs. There's no question about that. I think it's probably unlikely that they make another trade over the summer. We're talking basically about, like, can they move Marvin Bagley? Can they move Rashawn Holmes?
Right.
The market for a backup 5, particularly a backup 5 who makes over $10 million a year, as I think Rashawn does, and I think Marvin does, not strong. Not a strong market for that. So I don't anticipate them moving a big, and if they do, it certainly won't be for a return that would have them doing cartwheels.
Got it. Makes sense. Bagley, by the way, I just did the old Google, makes $12.5 this year, so it is the final year of his deal. So expiring perhaps is someone that, depending on what the Wizards are getting returned elsewhere, like that's a good cash number if they want to, finagle a trade somewhere else. As teams are trying to, obviously a lot of these teams up against the aprons, dollar for dollar matching. The math is getting more complicated, Josh, which is very, very bad for me. You do a great job, though. Handle it very well. Enjoy the rest of your time out in Las Vegas. We always appreciate it here on the radio. And good luck with everything else. And we look forward to the story tomorrow morning on the court. I'm really pumped about that. Like, genuinely pumped about to read that story.
Awesome. Bless you for saying that, Craig. And you asked some darn good questions. Better questions than the ones I asked.
I'm doing my best, Josh. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. That is Josh Robbins, everybody. Anthony, clearly we need to cut that for an open. Whenever someone compliments me, we need to remind people at least once an hour about it. We appreciate Josh Robbins greatly. You got it marked?
Yes, I have it marked. Should I also play it as a part of the best of the show?
That it might have to be.
It's a candidate. It's a candidate
for no other reasons than my ego. When we get back, man, am I playing into the character that some of y'all have with me?
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.